Easy English Life Podcast.
Real English, real life. Have you ever said yes when you really wanted to say no?
Oh, many times. Too many times. I say yes, then 5 minutes later I think, Leo, why did you do that?
That is very common. Maybe a friend asks you to go out, but you are tired. Maybe a coworker asks for help, but you already have too much work. Maybe someone invites you to something, and you simply do not want to go.
And then comes the hard part, saying no without sounding cold, rude, or unfriendly.
Exactly. Saying no is not always easy, especially in another language. In English, many learners worry that no sounds too direct.
Yes, sometimes I feel like just saying no sounds like closing a door in someone's face.
That is a good image. But the good news is this: you can say no clearly and kindly. You do not have to say yes to everything, and you do not have to explain your whole life story either.
That is a relief, because my whole life story is long, confusing, and has too many coffee breaks.
Today, we will help you learn natural English phrases to say no without sounding rude.
Welcome back to Easy English Life Podcast, where we learn real English for real life.
Today's episode is a B1 to B2 level conversation, so the English will be clear, natural, and easy to follow. We will use useful daily phrases, explain important vocabulary, and give you real examples.
Our topic today is how to say no without sounding rude.
This is such an important topic because saying no is part of communication. It helps you protect your time, your energy, and your boundaries.
Boundaries. That is a big word, but also a very useful one.
Yes, a boundary is a limit. It shows what is okay for you and what is not okay for you. For example, if you do not answer work messages after 8 p.m., that is a boundary.
So a boundary is not a wall?
Not exactly. It is more like a clear line. It helps other people understand what you can and cannot do.
I like that. A wall sounds too serious. A line sounds more polite.
Right. And saying no is one way to communicate that line. But many people feel guilty when they say no.
Yes, I feel guilty even when I say no to extra sauce at a restaurant.
Really?
A little. The waiter says, "Would you like extra sauce?" And I say, "No, thank you." But inside, I feel like I hurt the sauce's feelings.
Poor sauce.
Exactly.
But this is a good example. In simple situations, no thank you is perfectly polite. You do not need a long explanation.
So the problem is not always the word no. The problem is how we say it.
Exactly. Tone matters. Word choice matters. And the amount of explanation matters too.
Amount of explanation. That is interesting. Sometimes I explain too much.
Many people do. They say something like, "I'm sorry, I can't come because I have work, and then I need to clean my room, and maybe my cousin will call, and also my phone battery is low."
That sounds like me trying to avoid a party.
When we explain too much, we may sound nervous or unsure. A simple, polite answer is often better.
So today we need to learn how to say no in a way that is clear, kind, and not too dramatic.
Exactly. Let's start with the first main point.
I am ready. Politely ready.
Point 1. Soften your number.
Soften your number. Does that mean make it less hard?
Yes. In English, we often use softening phrases before we say no. A softening phrase makes your sentence sound kinder and less direct.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Instead of saying, "No, I can't help you," you can say, "I'm sorry, but I can't help with that today."
That sounds much better. It feels less sharp.
Exactly. The phrase, "I'm sorry, but," is very common. It does not always mean you did something wrong. It often means, "I want to be polite, but my answer is no."
So, "I'm sorry, but I can't" is useful.
Very useful. Another phrase is, "I'm afraid I can't."
I hear that in English sometimes. I'm afraid I can't. But nobody is afraid, right?
Good question. In this phrase, "I'm afraid" does not mean scared. It means, "I'm sorry to say this." It is a polite way to give bad news or say no.
So if someone asks, "Can you join the meeting at 7 p.m.?" I can say, "I'm afraid I can't. I already have plans."
Perfect. That is clear and polite.
What about friends? Is "I'm afraid I can't" too formal?
It can sound a little formal, but it is still okay. With friends, you may say, "Sorry, I can't make it tonight."
I can't make it. That means I cannot come, right?
Yes. I can't make it means I cannot attend or I cannot be there. It is very natural English.
So if my friend invites me to dinner, I can say, sorry, I can't make it tonight.
Exactly. And you can add a short reason if you want. I'm really tired, or I have an early morning tomorrow.
Simple and honest.
Yes, let's move to point 2. Give a short reason, not a long excuse.
This one is for me. I can feel it.
A short reason helps people understand your no, but a long excuse can sound weak or even fake.
Ouch. True, but ouch.
For example, imagine a coworker says, "Can you finish this report for me today?" You are already busy. You could say, "I'm sorry, but I can't take that on today. I already have a full schedule."
I can't take that on. That sounds useful.
Yes, take something on means to accept a task or responsibility. So, I can't take that on today means I cannot accept that task today.
That sounds more professional than, no, I'm too busy.
Exactly. I'm too busy can sound a little cold sometimes, but I already have a full schedule sounds clearer and more professional.
A full schedule means my day is already full, right?
Yes, it means you already have many things planned.
So if someone asks me to help move furniture on Saturday and I cannot, I can say, sorry, I can't help this Saturday. I already have a full schedule.
That works well.
But what if I do not want to give a reason? Maybe the reason is personal.
That is okay too. You can say, "I'm sorry, but I can't this time," or "That won't work for me."
That won't work for me. I like that. It sounds clear, but not rude.
Yes, it means the plan does not fit your time, your energy, or your situation. You do not have to explain everything.
That is powerful. Because sometimes we feel we must prove our no.
Exactly. But a polite no is enough. You do not always need to defend it.
Defend it means explain and protect your answer.
Yes, when you defend your decision, you try to prove it is okay. But in many daily situations, you do not need to do that.
Good. My no does not need a lawyer.
Exactly. Your no does not need a lawyer.
That is my favorite sentence today.
Point 3. Show appreciation before you say no.
Appreciation means showing that you are thankful, right?
Yes, appreciation means you notice and value something. When someone invites you or offers you something, you can thank them first.
So instead of just saying, I can't come, I can say, thanks for inviting me, but I can't make it.
Exactly. That sounds warm and respectful.
Can you give more examples?
Sure. If someone invites you to a birthday dinner, you can say, "Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm sorry, but I can't make it this time."
Nice.
If your coworker asks you to join a project, you can say, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't take on another project right now."
Thank you for thinking of me sounds very polite.
It is. It means, "I appreciate that you considered me." It is useful when someone offers you an opportunity, invites you, or asks you to join something.
So appreciation makes the no softer.
Yes, it shows that you respect the person, even though your answer is no.
That helps a lot. Because sometimes I worry that saying no will damage the relationship.
That is a very real worry. But a kind, clear no can actually protect a relationship.
How?
Because if you always say yes when you want to say no, you may feel tired, stressed, or even angry later.
Ah, yes, the secret anger.
Exactly. You say yes with your mouth, but inside, you feel uncomfortable.
That is not healthy.
Right. Honest communication helps people trust you. It is better to say no politely than to say yes and then do something badly, cancel at the last minute, or feel upset.
That makes sense.
Point 4. Offer an alternative when you can.
Alternative. That means another option, right?
Yes, an alternative is another choice or another possibility. When you say no, you can sometimes offer another way to help.
For example?
Imagine your friend asks, "Can you help me study tonight?" But you are busy tonight. You can say, "I can't tonight, but I can help you tomorrow afternoon."
So the answer is no to tonight, but yes to another time.
Exactly. That is very helpful and kind.
What about work?
If a coworker asks, "Can you review this file today?" You can say, "I can't review it today, but I can look at it tomorrow morning."
Look at it means check it.
Yes, look at something can mean read, check, or review it, depending on the situation.
That sounds natural.
Another useful phrase is, "I'm not available then, but I'm free on Friday."
Available means free to do something.
Yes, if you are available, you have time. If you are not available, you do not have time.
So I can say, I'm not available at 3, but I'm free after 5.
Exactly.
But Maya, what if I do not want to offer an alternative?
Then do not offer one.
Really?
Yes, only offer an alternative if you truly can and want to. Do not offer another option just to feel less guilty.
That is important. Because sometimes I say, maybe next week, but I do not actually want to do it next week.
Then next week becomes another problem.
And future Leo gets angry at past Leo.
Poor future Leo.
He suffers a lot.
So remember, an alternative is helpful, but it is optional.
Optional means not required.
Exactly.
Great word.
Point 5. Be clear, not too soft.
Wait, we just learned to soften our no. Now you say, not too soft?
Yes, this is the balance. You want to be polite, but you also want to be clear. If you are too soft, people may not understand that your answer is really no.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine someone invites you to a weekend trip. You do not want to go. You say, maybe, I'll see.
But you already know the answer is no.
Exactly. Maybe, I'll see, sounds like there is still a chance. The other person may keep asking.
That creates more stress.
Yes, a clear answer would be, thanks for inviting me, but I won't be able to join this time.
I won't be able to sounds polite and clear.
Yes, it is one of the most useful phrases for saying no.
So, I won't be able to join. I won't be able to help. I won't be able to attend.
Perfect. These are natural and useful.
What about, I don't think I can?
That can be okay, but it is softer and less final. If you are not sure, say, I don't think I can. But if you already know the answer is no, I won't be able to is clearer.
So English has different levels of no.
Exactly. Let's compare.
Level 1. Soft, but not final. I don't think I can.
Good.
Level 2. Clear and polite. I won't be able to.
Yes.
Level 3. Very direct. No.
Yes, but remember, direct is not always rude. In some situations, a simple no thank you is perfectly fine.
Like extra sauce.
Exactly. Like extra sauce.
The sauce understands.
I'm sure it does.
So the main idea is, be kind, but do not make your answer confusing.
Exactly. A polite no should be warm, short, and clear.
Warm, short, and clear. That is a good formula.
Now let's do a natural English upgrade.
This is where my basic English gets a little makeover.
Exactly. I will give a basic sentence, then a more natural sentence.
Ready?
Basic English. No, I can't go. More natural English. Thanks for inviting me, but I can't make it this time.
That sounds much better because it starts with appreciation. It feels friendly, not cold.
Basic English. I'm busy. More natural English. I'm sorry, but I already have a full schedule today.
That sounds more professional because it explains the situation without too many details.
Basic English. I don't want to do that. More natural English. I don't think that works for me.
That sounds softer because it focuses on the situation, not on rejecting the person.
Basic English. I can't help you. More natural English. I'm afraid I can't help with that right now.
That sounds kinder because I'm afraid makes the no more polite.
Basic English. No, not today. More natural English. I can't do it today, but I can help tomorrow morning.
That sounds helpful because it gives an alternative.
Basic English. Stop asking me. More natural English. I'm sorry, but my answer is still no.
That sounds calm and firm. Firm means strong and clear, but not angry.
Exactly. That is an important word. Firm. Sometimes we need to be firm, especially if someone keeps asking after we already said no.
That is hard. I usually become nervous.
Many people do, but you can stay polite and repeat your answer. For example, I understand, but I still can't. Or, I'm sorry, but that still doesn't work for me.
So I do not need to create a new excuse every time?
No, you can calmly repeat your answer.
That is useful because some people ask again and again.
Yes, and in English, we call that pushing.
Pushing?
Yes, if someone is pushing you, they're trying to make you say yes, even after you said no.
Like, come on, just this time, please. It'll be easy.
Exactly. In that situation, you can be warm but firm.
Warm but firm. Not cold, not weak.
Perfect.
Can we do a real-life example? Like a friend inviting me out when I am tired.
Of course. Your friend says, "Do you want to come out for dinner tonight?"
And I want to say no because my social battery is empty.
Social battery is a nice expression. It means your energy for being around people.
Yes, mine is sometimes at 2%.
You could say, "Thanks for inviting me, but I'm going to stay home tonight. I'm pretty tired."
That sounds honest.
Yes, and if you want to offer another time, you can add, "Maybe we can meet this weekend."
But only if I truly want to meet this weekend.
Exactly.
What about work? My manager asks, "Can you stay late tonight?"
If you cannot, you can say, "I'm sorry, but I won't be able to stay late tonight. I can finish this first thing tomorrow morning."
First thing tomorrow morning means at the beginning of the morning, right?
Yes, it means you will do it as one of your first tasks tomorrow.
That sounds responsible.
It does. You are not just saying no. You are also showing what you can do.
What if I really cannot help at all?
Then you can say, "I'm sorry, but I can't take that on right now."
Short and clear.
Exactly.
What about invitations from family? That can be more sensitive.
Yes, family can be more emotional. For example, someone says, "Can you come to lunch this Sunday?" You can say, "I'd love to see everyone, but I can't make it this Sunday. I hope you have a lovely time."
I'd love to. Sounds very warm.
Yes, but be careful. Only say, "I'd love to" if it feels true. If not, you can simply say, "Thank you for inviting me."
Good point. We want to be polite, not fake.
Exactly. Natural English is not about lying beautifully. It is about communicating kindly and clearly.
That sentence is deep. I need to write it on a mug.
Let's do our word tour and vocabulary review.
My favorite part. Tiny vocabulary vacation.
First phrase, "I can't make it."
This means I cannot come or attend something.
Example 1. "Sorry, I can't make it to dinner tonight."
Example 2. I can't make it to the meeting, but I'll read the notes later.
Second phrase, "I'm afraid I can't."
This is a polite way to say no. I'm afraid means I'm sorry to say this.
Example 1. "I'm afraid I can't help with that today."
Example 2. I'm afraid I can't join the call this afternoon.
Third phrase, "That won't work for me."
This means the plan is not good for my time, schedule, or situation.
Example 1. "Tuesday morning won't work for me. How about Wednesday?"
Example 2. I'm sorry, but that plan won't work for me.
Fourth phrase, "Take something on."
This means accept a task, job, or responsibility.
Example 1. "I can't take on another project this month."
Example 2. She took on too much work and felt stressed.
Fifth phrase, "A full schedule."
This means your day or week already has many plans or tasks.
Example 1. "I already have a full schedule today."
Example 2. He has a full schedule this week, so he can't meet until Friday.
Sixth word, alternative.
An alternative is another option or another choice.
Example 1. "I can't meet tonight, but I can offer an alternative."
Example 2. If Monday does not work, Friday is a good alternative.
Seventh word, available.
Available means free or able to do something.
Example 1. "I'm not available at 2 p.m., but I'm free after 4.
Example 2. Are you available for a quick call tomorrow?
Eighth word, boundary.
A boundary is a limit that shows what is okay and what is not okay for you.
Example 1. "I don't answer work emails late at night. That is my boundary."
Example 2. It is healthy to have clear boundaries with your time.
Ninth word, firm.
Firm means clear and strong, but not rude.
Example 1. "You can be polite and firm at the same time."
Example 2. Her answer was firm, but still respectful.
10th phrase, "Thanks for thinking of me."
This is a polite phrase. It means you appreciate that someone considered you.
Example 1. "Thanks for thinking of me, but I can't join the project right now."
Example 2. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm not available this weekend.
Great. Now, let's do a mini practice challenge.
Listener, this is your moment.
Think of one situation where you need to say no. Maybe a friend invites you out. Maybe a coworker asks for help. Maybe someone asks for your time when you are already tired.
Now choose one sentence and say it out loud 3 times.
Here are 3 options.
Option 1. Thanks for inviting me, but I can't make it this time.
Option 2. I'm sorry, but I can't take that on right now.
Option 3. That won't work for me, but I hope it goes well.
Now make your own sentence. Start with appreciation, then say no clearly.
For example, thanks for asking me, but I won't be able to help this weekend.
Very good. You can practice this with your own real-life situation. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel.
And the less you will panic when someone asks you something.
Exactly. Saying no is a skill. It is not about being rude. It is about being honest, respectful, and clear.
Today we learned that a good no can be warm, short, and clear.
We also learned to use softening phrases, give short reasons, show appreciation, offer alternatives when we can, and stay firm when needed.
And we learned that my no does not need a lawyer.
That may be the most memorable lesson.
I hope so.
Thank you for listening to Easy English Life Podcast. If this episode helped you, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment with one polite sentence for saying no.
Yes, practice in the comments. We would love to see your natural English.
Remember, you can be kind and still say no.
And you can protect your time without sounding rude.
Take care, keep practicing, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.